What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on in. It's 1TS Daily live right here at One True Sports. Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. January 10th, 2025. I'm your host, Zack Heydorn from Sports Illustrated and from Brass Ring Media. Pumped to be here and glad to have you guys here with me. We do this show, or I do this show with you every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, right around this time to talk to you about the day in pro wrestling. What's going on in the news? What's going on with shows? What shows have already happened? What are the results? Man, we get down to it all on this show. So thanks so much for being here. If you are watching on YouTube, hello. Thank you so much. Glad you're here. If you're watching on Twitter X, thank you as well. Appreciate you guys being here for the show. It's been so good and so fun to have the show back after the holiday break. You know, I missed it. I missed it. Like, you know, of course, everybody's doing holiday things, and that's that. But it was so fun to kind of get back in the host chair here, talk wrestling with you guys, and kick off the new year. So pumped to have the show back and ready to go. The live chat's open. You guys know that if you listen to the show, it's open, it's ready. The boss is already in there. He says, R.I.P. Black Bart, prayers. Yeah, man. Yes. That's some news. That was sad to hear. Black Bart Richard Harris, sadly, died on Thursday. He was 76, lost the battle with cancer. Yeah, it's sad. It's really, yeah, it's really sad. Yeah, it stinks to have to I talk about that kind of news on this show. It just does. But yeah, it's true. Thanks, boss. Glad you brought that up, man. As I mentioned, the live chat's open, so get in there, talk away, whatever you guys want to get to. If you want to ask some questions, I'm here for that. Drop them in there. I'll try to get to as many as I can. If you want to say, hey, Zach, talk about this instead of that, I can do that. Can talk about a lot of things. There's lots going on in wrestling world. So definitely hit me up in there. I'll do my best to keep the live chat monitored, but if you definitely want to get your question or comment addressed on the show, drop a super chat that automatically goes to the top of our feed, and I can see it right out of the gate, and we can make sure to address that. And any contribution is a big help. It really is. And so I thank you in advance. Thank you in advance for that. I'll talk a little bit more about Brass Ring Media in a bit and the partnership that Brass Ring has with One True Sport. But let's get into it. Let's get into the news of the day. A bit of breaking news this morning in regards to Vince McMahon. The SEC ordered Vince fined Vince $400,000 and ordered him to reimburse the WWE for $1.3 million. Again, this comes from the investigation they were doing into those hush money payments that kind of triggered all of this controversy and these allegations against Vince. Kind of helped push him out the door of WWE initially, was in regards to this situation. And so it's pretty much over now. It's pretty much over now. Vince McMahon did release a statement to Post Wrestling, and it says here, and I am going to quote the statement. And again, this is from Post Wrestling. The case is closed. Today ends nearly 3 years of investigation by different governmental agencies. There's been a great deal of speculation about what exactly the government was investigating and what the outcome would be. As today's resolution shows, much of that speculation was misguided and misleading. In the end, there was never anything more to this than minor accounting errors with regard to some personal payments that I made several years ago while I was CEO of WWE. I am thrilled that I can now put all this behind me. So there you go. Vince McMahon is going to have to shell out some money, $400,000 as a fine. Certainly not going to bother him. Neither is the $1.3 million that he's going to have to pay back. So, yeah, there you go. I mean, that's the news. There's not much to it. I don't think. I mean, well, I don't want to say there's not much to it. This news initially that these payments were made off the books, that triggered a lot of what happened to Vince McMahon, and kind of, how do I say this? Like, turn the light on in a dark room of stuff that had to do with Vince. And if you don't turn that light on, maybe none of this other stuff comes to light. And so this was that moment of flicking the light on. And so even though, these punishments, if you can even call them that, $400,000 fine by the SEC, reimbursing WWE $1.3 million, like, Vince McMahon's a billionaire. So, that's not, it's a punishment, I guess, slap of the wrist. But, the bigger fallout is definitely, is 100% having to do with, what came next, what came after this. And Vince is still dealing with that. And as he should be. The Janelle Grant lawsuit is still out there. There's some federal investigations going on into those allegations. So all of that stuff still has to play itself out, even though this piece of that puzzle was put to bed this morning. So once again, that's from Post Wrestling. Post Wrestling has done a tremendous job kind of covering the Vince stuff. So is Sports Illustrated. So, if you are watching this and you're like, I want more information on that, or I want to dive deeper into what happened, or, anything that has to do really with Vince at all, I encourage you, Post Wrestling did a wonderful job. And again, so did Sports Illustrated. And yeah, I'm a little bit biased there, but it's true. Facts are facts. All right. Let me check the live chat here. Yes, we have a super chat. Thank you, Matthew. Really, really appreciate it here. We'll take the super chat and the super chat comment, and then we'll get into some other topics of the day. Matthew says here, AEW screwed up by not building around their EVPs as top talents, and I think they're reaping now what they sowed then. We were there for them. So this is really interesting. This is a really interesting comment, and I think poignant. And I think it's part of really what I would say, Matthew, is like a bigger issue with the company that, yes, started with the EVPs, but still is there today with other talents. And what that is to me is the company, like, to more broadly state this, AEW's not been able to make their top guys into stars on their show, like with their booking, with their storylines, with their promotion, with their hype. They haven't been able to do it. They haven't been able to do it across the board. Guys get to a certain level and then they level off. And you can like pick any top guy or anybody that's had momentum even, and they come up a little bit and they have like a little bit of a hot run and then they go down. Now, some of that is just the nature of pro wrestling, like the Acclaimed, for example. That gimmick was not a gimmick that was going to have the staying power of, Steve Austin, right? I mean, that's an outrageous claim, but you get what I'm saying. Like that gimmick had a shelf life. That gimmick was more like the Rusev Day gimmick in WWE than it was something like really tangible. It was over, but it was like, over in a very kind of comedy gimmicky way that was going to fizzle. So it burned really hot. It burned really, really hot, and then fizzled away. But that happens with stuff that burns really hot. It burns hot and then it goes away. That you can live with, because that is just kind of strike when the iron's hot stuff. And I think actually AEW has done a pretty good job with that. They've, acts like the Acclaimed. acts like Hook to an extent. They've popped up all around. Wardlow, right? I mean, there has been moments there. But the bigger issue is that these bigger names that they have, Kenny Omega, right? Adam Page, the Young Bucks, Cody, look, I'd even argue Jon Moxley. Like, they get up to a certain point and then they just kind of stay there. They're not going to the next level. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think, yes, there was not a concerted effort to build around the EVPs early on. It felt like the EVPs, were trying to play nicey nice with the rest of the roster and we're the EVPs, so we're not going to book ourselves in top positions. Well, to your point, that's why people were there. People wanted to see the Young Bucks on a big national stage. They wanted to see Kenny Omega on a big national stage. They wanted to see Cody Rhodes on a big national stage and at the top. And instead, initially, all of those guys just kind of faded into the background. They just kind of faded in there and merged into the lane of traffic. And I do think that hurt them. But it didn't just happen. It didn't stop there, though, right? Will Ospreay. I mean, look at Will Ospreay right now. He's a guy that has tremendous matches. There's no doubt about that. And he's so valuable in that role, but he's not booked like a top guy, right? I mean, look, I keep using Steve Austin, and it's a bad, it's not a great comparison, but I'm using it as from the perspective of here's a top guy. Would that guy be doing what Will Ospreay's doing? And there's no way. There's no way that Will Ospreay or that Steve Austin in his hot run of 1999, he's not going 10, 12, 15 minutes with Val Venus. It's not going to happen. Val Venus, maybe he was a good worker. Not going to happen. And yet you have Will Ospreay, who is given too much to Buddy Matthews. Yeah, it was a great match. But to what end? You can't present stars that way. And so it's AEW has kind of ran from their big stars instead of embracing them. So I just brought up Kenny. I just brought up Cody, the Young Bucks, Will Ospreay. Swerve Strickland was the same thing. He got over, he got up to a certain point, he got the championship, and now, kind of back down to earth. Not a sustained elevation where you look at him and he's like, man, that guy is the face of the company. You could say the same thing about MJF. Same exact type of trajectory. You don't want that. You want guys to have sustained success, and you want to be able to be a company that can elevate top stars. Otherwise, why are top talents or talents on the cusp going to want to come here? I mean, why would they want to come to AEW at this point? WWE is where the stars are made right now anyway. So, yeah, Matthew, they have to figure that out. They've got to figure that out. Matthew follows up here in the live chat and says, the Bucks should have been tag champs, Cody and Kenny, the heavyweight champs, feuding with Jericho and Hangman. No offense to Orange Cassidy or Darby, but we didn't fill that arena in Chicago for them. Yeah, right. 100%. I agree with that. And even if right now you want to make Darby the guy, then make him the guy. That's the beauty of pro wrestling. You can try to make anyone the guy, but you gotta go there with it. You got to go there all the way. And Darby, they're trying to position him for maybe to beat Jon Moxley for that world title, but he's lost to Claudio. I mean, he's lost some key matches. He doesn't feel like that tip top guy. He just doesn't. And I think that hurts. I think that really, really hurts. The top of the card. That's how wrestling works. You can have shades of gray and you can try to invent the wheel, but like I said yesterday on the show, the good football teams have great quarterbacks. And that guy is usually clearly the top guy. Yes, there are exceptions to that rule. Occasionally, you can have a good defense or a dominant running back. Like occasionally, yes, that formula doesn't matter and you can still win. But most of the time, that quarterback is in play. And the same thing is in pro wrestling. Yes, you can have situations where, like, okay, maybe an ensemble cast can work. Maybe there's one or two guys, but usually there is your one top guy that everything is built around, and you go that way. And I think that AEW, needs to get back to that. I think they need to find that. I mean, they never really were there. I think it behooved them to find that. Great question, Matthew. Appreciate it. That was a fun topic that I didn't have on the list of things to talk about today, but that was good stuff. That's why the live chat's the best. That's why the live chat and the super chats are the best. I love it. Love it. Love talking with you guys. All right. E says here, got any predictions for SmackDown? Wasn't there going to be a 3 p.m. show yesterday? Yes. Typically, there is a 3 p.m. show on Tuesdays. It's one of our Brass Ring Media flagship shows that now airs live on One True Sport. We did have a scheduling conflict, so we are live today, the Brass Ring Media podcast at 3 p.m. Eastern. So don't miss it. Don't miss it. Be there. And now's a good time to mention Brass Ring Media in general. That's the shop that I run. We have partnered up with One True Sport, and now we air all of the Brass Ring Media live shows right here on the One True Sport YouTube channel. They still appear as audio shows on the Brass Ring Media podcast feed, and we will run, some new content and some fresh stuff on the Brass Ring Media YouTube channel. So long story short, subscribe here to One True Sport, but also subscribe over to Brass Ring Media if you can. If you like this kind of conversations we have here, I think you'll really love the shop that we run at Brass Ring Media. It's a click away. So just, head over to Brass Ring Media on YouTube, hit subscribe, and that way you don't miss any of our stuff. We do offer Brass Ring Media membership for anybody that's interested. You get all sorts of Brass Ring Media style coverage of pro wrestling throughout the week. All of our pay-per-view and PLE reviews, special member-only show once a week, Discord, all that fun stuff for our members. So I hope you try us out. That's on Patreon, patreon.com/Brass Ring Media. Cool. All right. Tonight, SmackDown is on. Fallout of last week's show is going to center around, I think at this point, Tiffany Stratton becoming the WWE Women's Champion, cashing in Money in the Bank, and also kind of like turning babyface, I think, right? Like, it seems like that's the direction. So in addition to just seeing her first night out as champion, I want to see like the presentation of her. Like, does she stay at all in that heel lane, or does she lean into the Tiffy time thing? Does she push back on Nia Jax now? Like, honestly, I think that's the way to go with her. I mean, I think that you've waited all this time, you've built anticipation for her as a potential champion, as someone that potentially could go up against Nia Jax, and you paid it off with that cash in. So you kind of got to hope that she's over as a babyface now. And the good thing is she is. I mean, she really is. I hope that they find a good lane with her, and it can go one of two ways. I think Tiffany Stratton has enough of a personality where you could let her go out there and talk and just kind of find her voice that way. And I think that's more authentic than her just leaning into Tiffy time and all that like kind of WWE marketing mumbo jumbo stuff that goes on t-shirts. Like, I could see her cutting that promo too, where it's just like one Tiffany Stratton cliche after another, and then Nia Jax, I'm going to beat you. I think that would wear on fans pretty quick. But if Tiffany Stratton, the babyface, can take that and put it together with her actual personality and like talk to the fans like a real person, I think there's some really good upside there and some really good depth. And it's time for her to take that spot. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with her and how she does on her first night at the office as champion. Also tonight, we've got LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE United States Championship. It's a grudge match, a rematch from when Nakamura won the title. This one's tough to call for me. Like, and mainly it's because, like, for LA Knight, like, for a lot of people, you could see that secondary title as like a title that's getting them ready for another level of star power in WWE. The IC title, for example, Braun Breaker has it, but if you were to lose it, you'd be like, okay, no big deal, because clearly he's a guy that they see on the level of a WWE World Champion at some point. Like, that's there for him. With LA Knight, that's not there. I don't see that secondary championship as like a elevator to something bigger. It kind of seems like that secondary championship is where he stays in terms of like winning a title and winning gold. He's not on the level of a Cody Rhodes. He's not on the level of a Gunther or even of like a CM Punk or a Seth Rollins or of course a Roman Reigns. Like, he's not that guy. Oh, by the way, thank you to our sponsor, our unofficial sponsor, Starbucks. Starbucks. We drink this coffee on the show every day. Every day you get plugs in front of thousands. Come on, pony up. Pony up. Thank you, Starbucks, in advance. And thank you for, keeping me awake all day. Sometimes with the kids, late night, you're up in the middle of the night, you got to get your caffeine fix, and Starbucks does that for me. We've got a super chat from Matthew here about coffee, so I'm going to get to that in a minute, Matthew. But yeah, so LA Knight just kind of has that ceiling on him, and he still gets really good reactions. He's a big star. He's a great star for that show. So, but like, he kind of taps out. And so because of that, when he's in title matches, you got to like really think like, okay, is he going to win this belt back here? I don't think he will. I don't think he will. Either going to have him keep chasing, or just have him lose and move on to something else. Some kind of like maybe like a blood feud, or put him in the Royal Rumble mix. I think that he's a really good player in the Royal Rumble. A guy that probably is not going to win, but a guy that you could reasonably present as a potential winner because of his star power. And I think that's more the direction they go here. Like Nakamura, if he doesn't have that championship, I think he really kind of gets watered down big time. So he's got to have that title, and I think he hangs on to it. That's all that WWE has announced for SmackDown right now. Let me check the old Twitter machine here and see if they've added anything else since we've been talking. Let me pull up WWE. Pull this up here and see if they've got anything else that we need to potentially get to. Nope. Nothing there. Yeah, no. Okay. Yeah, there you go. So that's all they have so far. So Tiffany Stratton, and they're not even really promoting an appearance from her. It's just that I would assume she's going to have some sort of impact on the show because of what happened last week. So really, the only thing that they're out there promoting right now is that LA Knight versus Nakamura match. We'll finish on Matthew's super chat. Matthew says here, fasting coffee for the month. So here's my coffee money. Love you and Tyler. Perspective, not her other places. Question: how does SmackDown stay hot now? Dude, Matthew, thank you, man. I appreciate you a lot. It means a lot. Hey, always take some coffee money. And yeah, Tyler's a great analyst of wrestling. So I'm really privileged to work with him. He's on our Brasherie Media flagship podcast and co-founder with me in Brasherie Media. So glad to hear that you can find our perspective and you don't get that other places. It means a lot. We try hard to cover this business the right way. I think we do that. So hopefully, hopefully people kind of pick up on what you're putting down and give us a shot. Over at Brasherie. Patreon.com /Brass Ring Media. How does SmackDown stay hot? I mean, there's two things that have to happen here. The bloodline, you want to maintain that. I know Solo Sikoa just lost, but that doesn't mean that he has to be completely buried on SmackDown. Like, I think you can tell an extension story with Solo Sikoa now, or maybe even like a redemption story where, Jacob Fatu tries to like take over and maybe he's successful and Solo, like Jay, gets picked back up by Roman again. I don't know if that's in the cards, but that's the first thing is I would not abandon the bloodline. The bloodline has been the lifeblood of that show for almost 5 years now, almost. Like, I don't think you want to totally abandon that. And then the other thing is, of course, making sure the pieces get spread out nicely between SmackDown and Netflix. Like, if Cody is going to be spending his time on Netflix, you got to get a top act over on SmackDown. So whether that's Gunther or whether that's Seth Rollins or whether that's, really, it's kind of got to be one of them. I mean, I guess it could be CM Punk, but I think Netflix wants Punk. So you got to have like some big stars exclusive to SmackDown. And so, that's important in terms of SmackDown staying hot. Pancho Pablo says here, do you watch AEW? I do every week, every show. I just talked a lot about AEW early on here on the show. So Pablo, check it out. Yeah, I'm curious as to your thoughts. Drop them in the comments. We would love to hear your thoughts on what I was saying. Hasbro Hart says, where's RVD? RVD, not on this show. He's not on this show today right now, but he is gracious enough to let us use his channel and he's a part of the One True Sport family. So he's just, very gracious enough to let us use his channel, and we appreciate that. So yeah, no RVD on this show, but he'll be live a little bit later. And he is part of the One True Sport family. So you can find all his content, all his podcast stuff at One True Sport. He's going live tonight, as he says here. RVD going live tonight. 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. All right, you guys, thank you. So fun to be back this week. Man, it's a great part of my day doing the show, talking wrestling with you guys. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much to Matthew for our super chats. Appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who's joined live, and thanks to everybody who's tuned in and watched and listened this week. So we'll be back. We're back on Monday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll talk all the happenings of the weekend and get you ready for next week. So keep it locked here. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you Monday right here, 1TS Daily at One True Sport. I'm Zack Heydorn. Talk to y'all real soon. See ya.